Hi everybody, I'm Babbling Brookie, otherwise known as Brooke, and this video is to explain my disabilities, plural. So, since I was very young, I had arthritis. I had my first x-ray when I was close to 19, 20 years old, and I already had arthritis. And I was like, what? Isn't that an old person illness? And I'm here to tell you, no, it's not. You don't have to be older to have arthritis. And I thought maybe it was from sports. Maybe I had an injury in that one area. The more MRIs, x-rays, ultrasounds I had, the more I realized I had it everywhere. And I was starting to have more aches and pains the older I got. And then I started taking like ibuprofen. And before long, the ibuprofen wasn't enough. And that's not something you want to take long term anyways. But my point is, I was already to the point where I needed help to like have more mobility because it was affecting me that much. I could no longer lay on my right hip or left hip because it would inflame those areas. I was having to go to the chiropractor because also my sciatica was hurting a lot. And I found out I had scoliosis. And then over time I found out I had scoliosis, stenosis, which is a narrowing in the spine. So scoliosis, stenosis, hypertrophy, which is a reverse curve of the neck, bulging discs, bone spurs, fluid in my bone marrow, the arthritis, which is a deteriorating arthritis, bursitis, which is an inflamed bursa, tendinitis, so I had a problem with my tendons, fluid in my hips, a reverse angle of the tailbone, probably from many falls, although it could have just been that way all along and I didn't know. My very first imaging showed that it was in the wrong direction. I have tried to have that fixed with a chiropractor who tried to adjust my tailbone externally and internally, if you know what I mean. That was the most painful thing, to try to reset that tailbone internally. And I tried doing that 3 separate times. It is also said that I've had fibromyalgia, or have. I know a lot of people have mixed feelings about fibromyalgia. It's kind of like widespread body pain that you don't know why. I've had intermittent paralysis from the reverse curve of my neck. So think of it like a pinched hose, because your neck should go like this. Mine goes like this, and that spinal cord is right here, and it's pushing up on that spinal cord. So I had partial paralysis. Because of that, I walked like somebody who had MS. Therefore, I was given a misdiagnosis of MS. I don't have MS. It was because of my neck. I started seeing a chiropractor upwards of 3 times a day to reverse that curve enough to give me movement again, and I no longer have intermittent paralysis. Sometimes my fingers, my face, or my toes will go a little tingly, a little numb, and that tells me time to start working on the neck again, time to start doing my stretches, time to see the chiropractor. And I just stay on top of that. I take care of it. I don't sleep like this. I don't sleep on my stomach because my neck is so fragile. So I can if I sleep like that, I could wake up and have my arm numb. If I do any kind of like hair care, like I wanted to be in, I wanted to do hair care. I was going to school for, to be a stylist, and you start looking down more, or even working on a computer or anything downward or upward too long, or like moving my neck away from center, or even at a birthday party, if I'm turning around and looking like this, instead of moving my entire body, if I'm turning my head too much, I end up with a migraine or numbness in my fingers that can last for days. I really have to sleep with my neck straight. I have to turn my whole body. I have to be careful how far I turn my neck. I have to be careful how much I lift, because it will strain my neck. I have spasms. These braces. I have spasms in my neck. So that is why I trained myself to sleep flat on my back, so that I have less issues with my neck, which causes me migraines, the paralysis, all those issues. So I've been staying on top of it, and I've been walking again just fine. Now, I was down for a year recently because I had a procedure in my hip, which did not go as planned. They told me I'd be up and walking within a week. It took me a year. It just went wrong. And they were like, sorry, we thought this would be the answer for you. This works for most people. It just did not work for me. And, I wouldn't have known whether it was going to work for me unless I tried it. So, sorry. It just didn't. It just didn't work for me. And that's okay. It just is what it is. At least I'm back to walking now. However, I still have to be careful with how quickly I walk, whether I do an incline. I can now walk up to an hour, but I have to do it slowly and on a flat surface, and I do it on a treadmill so that I'm not like hitting cracks in the road, or like, constantly having to watch every step, which would then put my neck down again, right? And when you're walking out in nature, there are pros and cons to that. Like the road can be like, one side of the road could be like this. If you're walking on the sidewalk, it could have an incline and this and that. And plus I'm out in the sun as well. The safest thing is for me to have those rails next to me so that I could grab them if I need them. My balance has dramatically been thrown off because of all of this, because of the bad hip, because of the surgery that went wrong, because of the scoliosis, because of the past paralysis. I mean, all these issues, and because of the sciatica. So I do my sciatica stretches. Again, I do the neck stretches. I do red light. I take turmeric, moringa tea for inflammation, because that is a lot safer on the body than taking things like ibuprofen. Long-term ibuprofen isn't the best for you, so I prefer herbal tea. I do take joint medication for my inflamed joints. That's another thing I did not mention. My joints are super inflamed. I've had to have surgery on my knuckles. I've had to have procedures and treatments all up and down my spine, in the joints. The knuckles were opened up and cleaned out because they were getting so swollen. They were, some of them were popping, and the inside of my knuckle was coming out on the outside of my knuckle, but under the skin. So it was forming like a large circle under there. It was very painful, very tender. And after having those, cleared out, the inside of the knuckles cleaned out, it took me like a year before I could completely bend my fingers again. And it is said I have lupus. Now, the blood test does not say lupus. However, my mom has lupus, and it took her years before the blood test said yes. 2 doctors have said lupus, and I believe they're just going off of the symptoms. I know they're not going off of the blood test markers. my primary told me just because it didn't test positive doesn't mean it's not positive. So she's giving me a symptom diagnosis. However, I am still looking for the real answer in case it is not lupus and it's something that can be cured. What if it's something else? What if it's Lyme disease? What if it's something else? And I don't know that, it might be something else that has no cure. It might just be part of the arthritis breakdown. I have been tested for rheumatoid arthritis, and it was not that. However, I was also told that you can be tested for rheumatoid arthritis, get a negative, but it really is positive. So it's pretty confusing. I'm just going off of what the doctors have told me. My current diagnosis is lupus, fibromyalgia, arthritis, bursitis, tendinitis, scoliosis, stenosis, hypertrophy, bone spurs, fluid in my bone marrow, which is called bone marrow edema, and more. It stinks. It causes me a lot of pain. I have days where I'm worse. Sometimes it's because I've aggravated it. Maybe I moved the wrong way. Maybe I slept the wrong way. Maybe I ate the wrong thing, something inflammatory, a bunch of sugar. Or I did nothing wrong and I still have a flare-up. It just happens. I also have, like I said, the migraines because of my neck, but I also have photosensitive epilepsy, which causes seizures. And I can get those from fluorescent lighting. I can get those from flashing. I can get it from patterns of light and dark between the blinds. I can get it if I stare looking at a ceiling fan. I got it one time from a pigeon flapping its wings because of the dark light pattern. Just anything, and even certain sounds that make a pattern like woo, woo, woo could cause one for me. Could. I haven't had them in a long time because I found the proper medication for me. Knock on wood. I haven't had one in a long time. Now, am I leaving anything off? Okay, so how does that make me disabled? Why am I able to dance some days? Why am I able to work out? And you guys think like, oh, well, you must not be disabled because you can walk. Well, there's days that I can't. Like my mobility is almost down to 0 because I'm in so much pain. Or I have a migraine and there's no way I could go into work with that migraine. There's days I can't get out of bed for a week. I mean, I could get myself to the bathroom, but it's like miserable. Like it's so complicated just to get to the bathroom. There's days I struggle to get into a bathtub. There's days you guys don't see me on camera because I'm in a flare-up. So walking is more difficult for me. Can I walk now? Yes. But some days I only walk to the bathroom. Some days I can't walk that hour on the treadmill. And even then, I can only move so quickly. Disabled doesn't mean you're not able at all. It means it's more complicated for you. Now, there's some people who are disabled who cannot walk at all. But there are some people who are disabled that have a more challenging time to walk. It is more difficult for me. Now, I might have a good day where I'm walking and I might still park in the disability spot. Why is that? Because what if I go around the store and all of a sudden my hip decides to give out? What if all of a sudden every step I take I am injuring myself and I have to leave? I don't want to hop to the end of the parking lot. I want to be able to get in and out as safely as I can without causing more injury to my body. I never know when my body's going to go, okay, you've had enough walking. Now, I try not to go shopping on the days where I'm really hurting. I try to go on the days where I'm feeling well for me. I always have pain. Always, always. But Some days it's tolerable. Some days it's not. On those days, there's no way I could even go shopping. There's no way. And then some days I'm somewhere right in the middle. I don't know what days are going to be my bad days to be able to work a normal job. Like, I can't tell them, oh, well, sorry, I can't come in Monday. I'm scheduled to have a migraine that day. Oh, I won't be here next week. I'm going to have a flare-up for 5 days. Oh, no, I'm going to have a flare-up for 2 weeks. Like, I don't know those things. Even when I'm having one, I don't know how long it's going to last. And even an at-home job, sitting is one of the most painful things for me. I have to sit with a cushion that has a cutout for my tailbone, and I try to limit how much I sit. Normally, what I do is I sit on this cushion, and then after a while, I end up holding myself up, or I tilt to this butt cheek so I'm not sitting on that tailbone. And then I go and I lay down, I turn off the camera, and I turn on my red light, and I drink my turmeric tea, and I try to reduce the inflammation. Sometimes it works. In an hour, I can sit for a little longer. After an hour of laying down, I can sit again for a half hour. Sometimes I can't. Sometimes I can't sit again for a couple days comfortably. It just isn't this one thing every day. Some days it might be the migraine. Some days it might be this. Some days the tailbone's not cooperating. Sometimes the neck's not cooperating. It's just a very fluid, ever-changing thing. Today I had a migraine because yesterday I tried to lift 5-pound weights. I'm not there yet. I used to be there, and I would love to get back there again more quickly, but slow and steady is the way for me to go. Right now I can do about 2 pounds. 2 pounds in each arm. And that's working for me. When I tried to do more, I got a really bad migraine. Sometimes, like I said, I get the migraine even if I didn't lift anything, even if I didn't move the wrong way. It just seems to happen anyways. Maybe I didn't realize I turned my neck too far. I was out in public, someone called me or something or said something, and I turned too far. It just is what it is. Sometimes I get them anyways. Maybe I was, maybe it's because of the lighting, you know. I don't know, because I have that photosensitive epilepsy. It could be anything that causes it. It could be stress, but most of the time it's because of my neck. I used to get migraines because of my nose. I had that fixed. I couldn't breathe through my nose. And I was getting migraines because of my nose. I had a nerve in there that was being pinched, and the doctor corrected that. I was having them every day for 6 months. And I said, something has to give. So I had my nose corrected. I went into surgery with a migraine. I came out of surgery and it was gone. But, you know, I don't know. Some of that was also because of the workout and injuring myself in the gym. Sometimes I don't know. Sometimes I'm like, I don't know what brought it on. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. And I never know when it's going to happen. But I do know that if I'm not careful, for sure, absolutely, it will bring on these things. Right now, sitting here right now, my hip is hurting, my tailbone is hurting, so I'm not going to keep you guys. I hope this explains a little more. But I have had PRP. I have constant cortisone injections all up and down my spine, both sides of my neck, all up and down my spine, into the tailbone. I get them under anesthesia, not under anesthesia, imaging. I see a neurologist, a psychiatrist, a spine doctor, a tailbone doctor, tailbone specialist, neck specialist, hip specialist, pain doctor, primary, and a cardiologist, because I might have heart failure or I might have a blocked artery. My legs were filling up with fluid. I was getting shortness of breath. I was having more trouble when I was laying down. I could hardly even finish a sentence without running out of breath. So I just had the last of my heart tests, and I will find out on the 17th whether I have heart failure, a blocked artery, or whether it was a fluke. I have no idea. But I hope that explains it a little better. Again, I can walk again, but I can't walk that well. And I can't walk for that long. And I can't walk for that far. And I can't walk up a hill. And I can't do a hike yet. And I can't walk every day comfortably. And I can sit, but I can't sit long. It's the most painful thing for me is sitting. And driving is even worse, because sitting is like this, driving is like this. The sitting bounces underneath you and you're going like this. So driving is the worst. Driving by far is the worst. Sitting is the most uncomfortable. So when people say you could get a desk job, nah. I can't commit to like, oh, I'm going to meet this deadline by this day, because I don't know that I can. I might be in bed for that week. I might have a migraine that week. I might not be able to look at the screen that week. So, anyways, I am still working, but what I'm doing is YouTube. Because if I need to lay down, I can lay down and nobody's going to fire me. If I need to lay down for a week, I can lay down for a week and nobody's going to fire me. If I can sit for a half hour, then lay down. Sit for a half hour, then lay down. I can do that because I can work around what's hurting and when. So that's why YouTube works for me. I'm very appreciative to have found something that does work for me so that I can provide for myself and get back into the field. Now, is it blue collar? No. I always had blue collar jobs, waitressing, bartending, those kind of jobs, cocktail serving. I loved it. I loved being on my feet. I just couldn't do it anymore. And instead of just laying down and taking a check or asking for handouts, I work for it now. People do contribute. You can call that a handout if you want to. That's fine. I think I work for it because I am answering questions all day long, putting on makeup, doing cosplay, working out, doing nutrition, sharing of myself, of my personal information, and giving that up and dealing with haters so that some people will hopefully enjoy the content, learn something from my way of life, my way of living. And I'm very thankful for those who watch this video, who don't judge me, who don't rush to judgment, and took the time to learn a little bit more about disabilities. Every disability is different. You can't always see a disability in somebody. They might have agoraphobia. They might be perfectly healthy physically, but mentally they have a hard time leaving their home. You don't know how difficult it is for them. Some people have such fear that they can't leave their homes. If you are not disabled, if you don't have health issues, be grateful. Appreciate the health that you have. Make the most of it. And don't give up. If you do have a disability, you're welcome on my channel. I understand you. I get you. We might not have the same thing, but I understand what it's like to be disabled and to be told, go get a job. I'm making money, right? It's a job. How else do you define a job? Something that pays your bills, something that you show up for and you work for, that it's not always easy, but you do it anyways to pay your bills. So yeah, this works for me, and as long as it does work for me, I'm going to continue to do it because I'm happy to be here. Not every day is the best day. Not every day is the most comfortable day here on YouTube. Some days are a little more difficult than others, but it works for me. So thank you for watching.